ครับสวัสดีครับทุกท่านนะครับตอนนี้ก็เดี๋ยวขอเวลารอทางฝรั่งเศสเข้าทางซูมสักครู่นะครับก็การประชุมวันนี้จะเป็นการประชุมเกี่ยวกับตัว One Health ครับ One Health High Level นะครับเป็นความร่วมมือของไทยกับฝรั่งเศสนะครับโดยที่ก่อนนี้ครับทางฝรั่งเศสโดยท่านประธานาธิบดีครับได้เสนอแนวคิด One Health หรือว่าแนวคิดสุขภาพหนึ่งเดียวนะครับในการเข้าที่ประชุมในระดับนานาชาตินะครับหรือว่าแนวคิดที่ว่านี้ก็คือย่อมาจากคำว่า pre-zone นะครับก็ทางสถานทูตฝรั่งเศสนะครับก็ได้ส่งหนังสือถึงกรมหรือว่ากระทรวงต่างๆที่เกี่ยวข้องนะครับไม่ว่าจะเป็นกระทรวงสาธารณสุขกรมควบคุมโรคกรมปศุสัตว์หรือว่าหน่วยงานอื่นๆที่เกี่ยวข้องเพื่อขอความเห็นในการเข้าร่วมโครงการในครั้งนี้นะครับจึงได้นำมาสู่การประชุมในครั้งนี้นะครับก็คือเป็นการประชุม high level ของไทยกับฝรั่งเศสเพื่อพูดถึงแนวคิดสุขภาพหนึ่งเดียวในครั้งนี้นะครับก็อย่างที่ทุกท่านในห้องนี้ทราบเป็นอย่างดีนะครับว่าแนวคิดสุขภาพหนึ่งเดียวเนี่ยเป็นอะไรที่สำคัญมากๆนะครับในช่วงนี้แล้วก็ทั่วโลกให้ความสนใจมากๆนะครับเพราะว่าไม่ว่าจะเป็นคนสัตว์สิ่งแวดล้อมจะมีความเกี่ยวเนื่องกันแล้วก็เราจะควบคุมป้องกันโรคไม่ว่าจะเป็นในคนเองหรือว่าในสัตว์เองครับโดยแยกส่วนเนี่ยก็จะไม่ได้เพราะว่าทุกอย่างมันมีความสัมพันธ์กันหมดเลยเป็นที่มาของการประชุมในครั้งนี้นะครับเดี๋ยวรออีกสักครู่นะครับประมาณ5นาทีนะครับรอทางฝรั่งเศสเข้าร่วมทางซูมก่อนนะครับดีครับเดี๋ยวระหว่างนี้เดี๋ยวผมขอแจ้งตัวกำหนดการประชุมคร่าวๆของวันนี้ก่อนเลยนะครับก็การประชุมในวันนี้จะมีหัวข้อที่น่าสนใจอยู่ครับหลายหัวข้อด้วยกันครับโดยในช่วงแรกครับจะมีอยู่2หัวข้อครับก็คือเป็นการเสวนาโดยดร.เซิร์ชครับซึ่งมีความเชี่ยวชาญมากในเรื่องของโรคสัตว์สู่คนนะครับแล้วก็โรคเกี่ยวกับโรคอุบัติใหม่อุบัติซ้ำนะครับก็จะมาให้ความรู้เกี่ยวกับด้านสุขภาพหนึ่งเดียวนะครับแล้วก็การจัดการโรคอุบัติใหม่อุบัติซ้ำนะครับแล้วก็วิทยากรท่านที่2ก็จะเป็นอาจารย์ปานเทพนะครับจากราชวิทยาลัยจุฬาภรณ์นะครับท่านเป็นผู้ริเริ่มแนวคิดสุขภาพหนึ่งเดียวในเมืองไทยครับแล้วก็สร้างเขาเรียกว่าเครือข่ายที่เกี่ยวข้องระหว่างทั้งภาคสัตว์ป่าโดยเฉพาะยิ่งสัตว์ป่านะครับเพราะว่าอย่างที่เราทราบกันอยู่แล้วโดยเฉพาะสถานการณ์โควิด -19 ในปัจจุบันนะครับว่าสัตว์ป่าก็เป็นต้นตอของโรคต่างๆมากมายนะครับส่วนในเซสชั่นต่อไปครับก็จะเป็นการเสวนาครับโดยผู้แทนจากกรมต่างๆที่เกี่ยวข้องนะครับทั้งในด้านของสุขภาพคนสัตว์และก็สิ่งแวดล้อมนะครับโดยจะได้รับเกียรติจากท่านรองอธิบดีกรมควบคุมโรคนะครับนายแพทย์โสพลมีผู้แทนกรมปศุสัตว์และก็ผู้แทนกรมอุทยานนะครับมาเสวนากันนะครับได้ยังโอเคNow is maybe the proper time to start the meeting. Let's take a seat and prepare ourselves to the upcoming event. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the High Level France Thailand One Health meeting. My name is Chiti Hunukit, a manager of Coordinating Unit for One Health Thailand. Today, I have a privilege to serve as MC of this meeting. It is well known that France and Thailand established a close relationship for a long period of time. Both countries have developed constructive collaboration in several areas, ranging from politics and socio-economic policies to academic and medical establishments. It is obvious that the relations between both countries are very necessary for dealing with changing circumstances, especially during the current pandemic of COVID-19. It is a great opportunity that both countries has realized One Health becomes the top priority of our concerns to approach the public health problems. This meeting will underscore the importance of One Health and come up with a solution to future public health security. I would like to inform our distinguished guests the schedule of the meeting. This meeting is divided into two sessions. The first session consists of two interesting topics, namely One Health approach from France and Thailand perspectives, and One Health governance and experience of Thailand and France. The second session will a bilateral discussion on One Health between France and Thailand. Now, I would like to welcome everyone in this room and via the online system to join the opening remarks made by Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Health Thailand, His Excellency Mr. Anutin Chanvirakul, and followed by Ambassador of France to Thailand, His Excellency Thierry Martou.
The French Ambassador to Thailand, Excellency Thierry Martou, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Royal Thai Government, I'm pleased to deliver an opening address for the high-level France-Thailand One Health meeting. First of all, I would like to extend my greetings and a heartfelt welcome to the representatives from France and to all distinguished delegates attending this meeting. One Health concept is associated with all parts of our lives. It has played an essential role in controlling, preventing, and monitoring almost all diseases, especially zoonotic diseases, emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases, as well as diseases caused by climate change. The One Health approach not only attaches significance to humans and animal health, but also to environmental and ecological systems. The high-level France-Thailand One Health meeting represents the collaboration between France and Thailand to engage government leadership in supporting One Health and translating this integrated approach to the national, regional, and global levels. Colleagues, the COVID pandemic is a good example to illustrate that one country is unable to address the problem of public health alone, as its impact is enormous. The pandemic does not only pose immediate challenges to human lives, but also creates devastating public health and economic consequences. This special meeting today marks an auspicious opportunity to enhance multi-sectoral cooperation and raise the awareness of the whole society approach for handling health issues through One Health as a whole. Once again, please allow me to extend my warm welcome to you, and I believe this meeting will be productive, fruitful, and beneficial for both countries. Now, I would like to declare an official opening of the high-level France-Thailand One Health meeting. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Dear Deputy Prime Minister, dear representative of the One Health community in Thailand, in France, and in Indo-Pacific, it's a great pleasure for me to open this high-level event on the One Health approach, which is one of France's main international priorities in the field of global issues. I'm really honored to organize it with Thailand, with whom we wish to develop a bilateral dialogue on biodiversity. I also would like to thank the Ministry of Public Health of the Kingdom of Thailand for their strong support and interest in organizing this event. At a time when our society, our economies, and our daily lives have been disrupted for almost 2 years by the COVID-19, it is crucial to better understand the interactions between human, animal, and ecosystem. Indeed, nearly 3/4 of emerging diseases are transmitted from animals to humans. The current crisis is a very good example of the dramatic consequences that these diseases can have on our lives and underscores the need to strengthen our health system in a more sustainable and resilient manner. In this context, as I said, France is committed at the international level to this integrated One Health approach. We have supported several recent initiatives in this regard. Firstly, last year, France, with the support of Germany, initiated the creation of a One Health high-level panel of experts by FAO, WHO, OIE, and UNEP. This panel will help better understand how diseases likely to trigger pandemics emerge and spread, and advise international organizations and governments. Among the 26 members of this panel, we are very proud to have here in Thailand the French expert on this issue, Professor Serge Morand. Secondly, the French president launched with the FAO, on the occasion of the One Planet Summit last January, the PREZOD initiative on the prevention of zoonotic diseases, which aims to improve surveillance and early warning systems to prevent pandemics. It already brings together more than 1,000 researchers in 50 countries. We are honored to be able to hear today the French President's Special Envoy for PREZOD, Dr. Jean-Luc Angot. Thirdly, France is also funding a project, One Health in Practice in South Asia, which covers 5 countries, namely Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, and Vietnam, with the participation of Thai experts. Last but not least, in order to further support its resolute action in favor of biodiversity protection, France is preparing to deploy several experts in Thailand to work on the One Health approach with the OIE and on environmental crime with the UNODC. It is our responsibility to act and to integrate the environmental component in the fight against the emergence of zoonotic diseases, in particular by fighting against environmental crime. The main challenge now is to develop prevention mechanisms to respond to new pandemics. In conclusion, I hope that today's meeting will enrich our respective ways of understanding the One Health approach and give rise to new avenues of cooperation that will further strengthen the partnership between France and Thailand. I thank you for your participation.
So at this time, we will start the first session. I would like to introduce Dr. Pasakon Akrasevi to serve as the moderator for this technical session. Dr. Pasakon is currently a senior advisor to the Department of Disease Control. He was a former director of the Bureau of Epidemiology. Moreover, he has been working with One Health Thailand more than 10 years, and also the member of COVID-19 Special Advisory Committee for the Ministry of Public Health Thailand. Please, Dr. Pasakon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chiti. Let me to speak clearly. Due to the time constraint, so we have to use our time efficiently. I would like to start with presentations from Professor Serge Morand on emerging disease and the environment. Professor Serge is a director of CNRS Research Institute, associate researcher at CILAD. He is also inviting professor at the Faculty of Tropical Medicine, Mahidol University, Thailand. Currently, Professor Serge serves as a member of the One Health high-level expert panel. Please welcome Dr. Serge video record.
Dear all, it is with a really great pleasure that I can share with you some lessons we have learned from the COVID-19 crisis from a health ecological point of view, but also to address some questions on actions to strengthen the One Health approach for a better post-COVID world. One lesson and first lesson we have learned of this pandemics that we are facing for several decades now an increasing number of outbreaks of infectious disease. Worldwide, for zoonotic disease or vector-borne disease that are directly affecting humans, but also for epidemic infectious disease that are affecting livestock and poultry, and not the less important for epidemics of infectious disease that are affecting wildlife. Also, a new pandemic was really predictable, such as the disease X of the WHO. It was quite impossible to foresee which disease, where, and when, which turned out to a second lesson that we have learned from this pandemic, and it concerns the drivers. And one of them is the expansion of farming. The data of FAO speak by themselves, with a dramatic increase in the number of pigs or chicken, with a high density of individuals in several countries of Asia, but also of Europe and North America. Even these poultry and livestock can be affected by their own pandemics. Think about the avian influenza or the actually African swine fever. But the increase of these livestock and poultry has a direct negative impact on biodiversity. The actual biomass of cattle on Earth exceeds the biomass of the total humanity. The number of chickens on Earth is almost of the same value of the total number of wild birds, a number that has decreased from 300 billion in 1997 to 40 billion in 2020. The number of chickens has raised 30 billion in 2020. These affect biodiversity by impacting with higher biodiversity loss when there is a high density of livestock and poultry, but also it's affecting the increasing number of epidemics related to the increasing number of livestock. All of this explains why the interface between humans, wildlife, and livestock are changing in a way that it favors spillovers on epidemics. High density of farm animals in hotspots of wildlife in danger favor the spillover of microbes and their amplification in livestock prior to the exposure and amplification in human population. For example, it is very clear with all the human coronaviruses we know, including the SARS-CoV-2. They are all originated from bats or from rodents, and they all have intermediate hosts that are mostly old livestock, but also new farming animals like the civet. But it raised my first questions. Does the loss of ecosystem services provided by biodiversity is affecting this spillover? Finally, we are losing an important service provided by biodiversity, this service that regulates disease transmission. But the SARS-CoV-2 show us a very striking effect. Very at the beginning, this virus showed this ability to infect pets, dogs, cats, or zoo animals, gorillas, lions. But this observation that farm minks in Europe were able to replicate and transmit the virus confirmed by the observation that feral mink infected recently in Spain. So the possibility of the spillback of SARS coronavirus to wildlife, a possibility that now is real with the new information and confirmation that wild deer in US are infected and could potentially transmit the virus. All of this already challenge the way on the possibility to eradicate the virus. And all of this show a last things that almost in 2 years, a virus that originated from a bat in Asia was able to adapt to human and to spread everywhere on the planet, and finally to adapt to wild animals, either in Europe or in the US. So we have learned this lesson, we have these new questions, and now our last lesson is to enhance and to implement in a better way the One Health to get out of this crisis, repeating crisis. First of all, at the international level, we have to thank the FAO, OIE, UNEP, and WHO that has created a multidisciplinary One Health high-level expert panel to enhance also the science policy dialogue with the support of the governments of France and Germany. Another initiative at the high level on international level was the PRESOD initiative, also supported by the French government last year in Europe and with the help of those of the Germany. This initiative, the PRESOD initiative, wants to prevent zoonotic disease emergence, really at the very beginning. So working to a better understanding of the hazard, but by reducing the risk, reducing the exposure or the vulnerability of the people or the livestock or the wildlife. So working for a better healthy ecosystems, maybe with some solution like the nature-based approach, and working on this, we can really work on achieve healthy people and healthy animals. And finally, the last initiative, more regional, also supporting by the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the One Health in practice in Southeast Asia, and on really around 3 pillars: knowledge, skills, and practice. And I have to say, and to finish, that the Ministry of Thailand, of Public Health of Thailand, is an important key actor for the implementation of the One Health in the ASEAN, and is also a key partner for us, for France, to implement these One Health in practice in Southeast Asia. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Serge. He gave a very comprehensive view of interactions of environments, ecology, emerging infectious disease, and outbreak threats. He also projected the key question into the future of post-COVID-19. One Health approach is key strategy to avoid the next crisis. Now, I would like to proceed to the next presentations on Thai research community, which will represented by Associate Professor Pantep on One Health concept, Thailand research community, cooperations with multi-sector and international partner. Associate Professor Pantep is an outstanding research teacher, leader in academic community in Thailand. He plays important role in zoonosis, inspiring students and researchers all over Thailand to advance the One Health concept and practice in the countries. Please welcome Dr. Pantep, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Pascal. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank you all and thank you, the organizer, who invited me to join this high-level event. Anyway, I don't have any title here for my speech, but from the invitation, I learned that this meeting will allow me to express some of my experience concerning to the networking on One Health. It reminds me about 2 decades that we have the first impact of the avian influenza. We heard a lot in Asia as well as the globe. And this bring the concept of One Health to the region. And many people learn and try to use it in many ways. Next slide, please. Here you can see this is the first time that this region packed together to fight for something. And at that time, the ASEAN also tried to fight with the pandemic of the avian influenza. We work together and we do research together. So I will let you know later on how can we do that. Okay, this year we have 3 big events that should bring us to the attention that all the world, they move a lot into the One Health. The first one is the IUCN World Conservation Congress, which held in Marseille, France, in September 21. And in this meeting, the Congress have recognized as a first one, pursuing collaboration and partnership. This will allow us to work across discipline and sector, they state that. And second one, fostering effective conservation of species, ecosystem, and genetic diversity is essential for the recovery of biodiversity, including soils and agroecological diversity. The Congress also calls for action to improve our understanding of the link between humans, animal, and environmental health. And the third one that I pick up is understanding transform ecosystem better. Biodiversity and conservation matter everywhere. We must address the factors that diminish life and the health we share with animals and environment. This is one of the biggest events in this world that show you about the largest community of the wildlife conservation pay more attention on those One Health. The second event, next please. The CBD COP15, Part 1. This is standing for the United Nations Biodiversity Conference, which is a very huge one too, in Kunming, China, just last month, October 21st. This event has a conclusion which is correlated to the One Health it does. To secure the future of life on the planet, we must halt the loss of biodiversity by 2030 and achieve ecosystem recovery and restoration by 2050. So this is one thing that show about the biodiversity that correlate with the emerging infectious disease, and this have to be solved through the One Health approach. So thank you for Dr. Moran that give a lot of information already on that. And the third one, which is just passed on November 21, the UN Climate Change Conference, COP26. It was held in Glasgow, Scotland. They said about a One Health approach directly. The principle from the One Health approach, as emphasized in CBD Draft Action Plan on Biodiversity and Health, may offer practical solutions to tackle global health issues together with the unprecedented decline of biodiversity and the climate crisis. The potential success of this approach is impossible without strong multi-sector collaboration. And the other one is the next slide, please. After the devastating fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic, government leaders and climate negotiators at COP26 are already more aware of linkages between public health, animal and wildlife health than ever before. But it is the health of the environment which needs equal attention to ensure ecosystem integrity is not further compromised by changes in climate. So you can see that the conclusion and the commitment of these three big events in the world very, very concentrate and emphasize on One Health approach in many ways. So they gave some of us the direction and the way that the research should be conducted and also what should we do in the future. Next, please. So to see about the networking of One Health, I would like to show you one example that should maybe benefit for you to start next network in the future for One Health. The APAIR, Asia Partnership on Emerging Infectious Disease Research. This came from the idea of the IDRC, Canada, who helped us during the first outbreak of avian influenza to bring all the researchers on this area to work out on surveillance and monitoring and other research on avian influenza in many disciplines, as well as extend to the AMR in the later. But unfortunately, the sustainability is one of the important things that we should concern very much. Many networks collapse, cannot run or cannot continue their projects. This is what we have to think about, even though we have the same concept, the same idea, the same heart on One Health. So please be concerned about that. Next, please. Next, please. Nowadays, we have a Southeast Asia One Health University Network, or SEOHUN. Southeast Asia One Health University Network is established by the USAID in order to strengthen the manpower or capacity building of the region, Southeast Asia region. Many universities join together and have many activities concerning to the capacity building for the people in the university, in education, as well as in working people to understand and use a One Health concept for their work. This is supported by USAID. Next, we also have the TOHUN, which is for Thailand. And this is one of the picture that show you about how we start the One Health in Thailand. It starts from the wild bird problem during the avian influenza outbreak. And the 1st of October in 2010, Thailand One Health Forum initiation. We gather people from many institutions as well as government officers to join and work and try to solve our problem. So we can show you about the linkages that happen, and we try to use it as a model to work together on One Health. You can see from the research side, mostly from the university, from the education, many faculties work together within the university and between university. And we also work with the, back please, back. We also work with the ministry who keep the policy Ministry of Public Health, Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperation, as well as Ministry of Environmental and Natural Resources. We share our information from research to them. By the way, we do the capacity building for those who serve in the ministry. And for the implementation, they go through from the policy to many departments under their ministry, within their ministry and inter-ministry. For example, Department of Agriculture, Department of Livestock Development, Department of Fisheries, Department of Marine and Coastal Resources, and so on. And even though with the Department of Disease Control, this work together and linkages. And by the way, from research, from faculty, from university, also transfer their information and technology to all the departments that work together on that. And by the way, from the department, have direct their job and their work and their tasks to the local authority to solve those problems. So this is what we can show you about the linkages that we have been done. And to strengthening the link, first of all, we learned that we have to adopt One Health concept in the national health care policy, which Thailand also adopt that. Second, they implement One Health concept in routine practice of every level, which is quite difficult, but we still have to do. Other one is collaborative research, which is now still running on that. And the other one is seeking for more partnership. As I told you, that sustainability of the program is very important. So the partnership, how can we engage and make it strong, and even though get other or new friends to join. And the promotion and raise public support. This is very, very important. And finally, establish international collaboration. And this is what we think it is the way that we can strengthen our link. Next, please. So, to strengthen that, we also have to bear in mind about that we have to broaden our vision and open mind for everyone. We have to join in others groups. For example, biodiversity as a CBD, as I mentioned. The international wildlife trade. CITES regulation is very important. You see that wildlife trade is very important in the spreading of the zoonotic disease or emerging infectious disease. Global climate change policy. How can we follow that? We have to go back to see what happened this year. What's their new policy about that? The FTA, WTO, GAT, the animal welfare. Nowadays, they have another concept called the One Welfare. Animal welfare for human well-being. So how can they do that? And for sure, our tripartite, FAO, OID, WHO, we have to recognize and learn what they are going to do and their direction and bring it to us. ASEAN WEN, this is very small in the Southeast Asia, but very important. ASEAN WEN is Wildlife Enforcement Network. As I told you that, and Dr. Marat told you that, the wildlife play an important role in the emerging infectious disease. And this is one of the pillars of the One Health also. So we have to work with them, get some information and some idea. And also everything is socio-economic impact. And the leader of that, you will see that about the APEC meeting. Next, please. So next year, there we have a big meeting of COP19 for the CITES, which is the gathering of the information concerning the wildlife trade throughout the world. And this is a good chance for us to get the information and get collaboration. Nowadays, CITES concerned in the wildlife health as well as those animals that can bring the disease and spread disease throughout the world. And the other one, the last one, next. Thailand will host the APEC 2022. And I think that from our collaboration, we should bring and strengthen and try to advocate about One Health through the APEC 2020 next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pantep, for your wide with experience, direct view, and remind us about the working across discipline, the importance of diversity and ecology. Dr. Pantep also underscored the sustainability, the networks, and open mind. He used the word new friends. So that will be very important. We welcome every friend to join One Health and working across the collaborations. Now I would like to proceed to the Thailand One Health platform. One Health is, I represent, we have a small forum here between animal health, human health, and environmental health. That will be represented by representative from each one as an example of the collaborations. First, I would like to start with, because we have the three forum panels. The first one will be Dr. Sopon Sri Thawon, Deputy Director of the Department of Disease Control. The second will be Dr. Siti Premasathian from Department of Livestock, Thailand. Dr. Kirana Naradechanun from Department of National Park, Wildlife and Plant Conservation. Three of them will represent us into the small forum as to how we work together and what is experience and what is the current issue that we are facing. That will be some input for collaboration. Dr. Sopon, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pasakon, for your kind introductions. Distinguished delegate, One Health colleagues from France and Thailand, and also the participants today. It is my pleasure to share with you the information from Thailand's One Health experience. I have 2 slides to share with you. Thailand has practiced One Health for many decades. We responded to the zoonotic diseases, for example, rabies and avian influenza for many years. However, one of the unique collaboration in Thailand with bring together the health sector, animal health sector, and also the environmental health sector to work together. One of the good example is we have the work plan on the zoonotic diseases and also the emerging infectious disease that serve as the strategic plan for Thailand. On the slide, I show the Memorandum of Understanding signed by the 7 ministries plus the Thai Red Cross that also have the emerging infectious disease research unit. And this MOU was in 2016. Under the MOU, we have worked closely with many agencies in Thailand with the support from the academic sectors, for example, the Thailand One Health University Network. And the coordinating unit for One Health was established in 2014. This unique coordinating unit also very active in terms of coordinating the sectors in Thailand that focus on One Health activities. If you look at this timeline, there are several activities happened in the last decades. So I like to highlight something that significant. For example, in 2010, mentioned by Professor Pantep that the group of people who found on the collaboration on One Health met and then discussed. So 2 years after, we got the first MOU. The first MOU signed in 2013. And this one served as the first MOU among the Thai partners, including the government agency and also the academic institutes. So we work on the zoonotic diseases and also other One Health problems. And 2 years after, we also have some other activities. For example, the training, we have the surveillance and outbreak investigation training for workers and officers who work in different health sectors. And this is like the preparedness for the pandemic. And with the support from the USAID, we train the provincial and district health officers in Thailand to be ready for the pandemic response. And in 2016, as I mentioned, we expand the collaboration to involve more government sectors. For example, the Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Labor, and also the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security, in addition to Ministry of Agriculture and also Ministry of Public Health. In 2017, we joined the Global One Health Days. This is the first time that we celebrate the Global One Health Day in Thailand together with other countries. And this is also the years that we have the National Emerging Infectious Disease Strategic Plan with the concept of One Health embedded in this National Strategic Plan. And it serves as the plan for Thailand to prepare for the pandemic in the last 4 years. In 2018, we also have another One Health Day activities and involve more partners from other agencies until this year, 2021. So if you see here, we expand our network and collaboration to include not only the public but also private sectors, educational sector as well. So it is our collaboration that make the response to the COVID-19 pandemic more effectively this year. And we also want to make ourselves better prepared for the future pandemic, particularly the response to the zoonotic disease that always pose the significant risk to humans, animals, and also the eco health system. So this is the background information of the One Health that I like to share at this moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sopon. Next, I would like to welcome Dr. Sid from Department of Livestock to make comments and also give some information. Okay.
Thank you very much ครับ Dr. Pasakon. Good afternoon and good morning, distinguished participants. I would like to talk about the One Health governance and experience of Thailand in the sector of the livestock, which I'm from the Department of Livestock Development that regulates animal health in Thailand. We have experience in managing for One Health in very holistic way on many issues. Today, let me give you some examples, which are number one, the field epidemiology training program for veterinarian. Number two, veterinary public health service. And number three, zoonotic disease control operation. And let me propose one idea for better governance, which is management, concepts to reduce the impact of livestock and wildlife activities on the environment, which is the most human thing to do. Firstly, the RFETPV or Regional Field Epidemiology Training Program for Veterinarian by the Department of Livestock Development actively encourage continuous the program by the RFETPV unit under the Bureau of Disease Control and Veterinary Services, Department of Livestock Development. We're working closely with technical and financial supporters such as the Department of Disease Control, the FAO, USAID, and academic institutes and others. The highlight of this in-service training program is that our intensive training focus on solving animal health problems in the field and focus on the implementation of the academics related to veterinary epidemiology to be applied. And often zoonosis is selected in the community as the field study topic. And personnel from public health and wildlife health sector were always invited to join as our mentors or trainees. It may seem indirect governance, but preparing workforce on animal health is important to cope with this kind of problem. And it needs highly invested, but should do continuously for a long time because it's of course necessary for the training program. The second one about the veterinary public health service, DLD solves the problem of the antimicrobial resistance with other agencies also. The using of the antibiotic used in animal. Because we are better aware that they may be the source of problem in people. So improving regulations and surveillance of the drug-resistant infection in livestock and livestock products is conducted as the activities. And the third one about the zoonotic disease control operation. We have the joint outbreak investigation and disease surveillance with the Ministry of Public Health always. For example, avian influenza surveillance in live poultry market, and for the MERS-CoV in camel surveillance. And also the one that we have like the PODD or participatory One Health disease detection as the innovative participation surveillance developed by the Chiang Mai University and many government and community agencies. Is the tools, PODD is the tools to help for the disease detection in community. And PODD succeed in northern region of Thailand as the rapid alert system from local for like the local poultry disease or avian influenza, rabies, and other zoonotic disease. A total of the 75 outbreaks has been successfully stopped from spreading regarding using the PODD system as the rapid alert. And from now, the PODD plan to expand to other regions, including other countries in Southeast Asia. And finally, I would like to propose one idea for better governance. As many people may know that many Thailand's problems are often associated with the limited of the land use and also the limited of the resources. For example, currently, Thailand faces lumpy skin disease outbreak in cattle and found some evidence that the disease may spread between livestock cattle and wild cattle species, such as the gall and banteng. The using of invasive space between livestock and wildlife is the main risk factor of the spreading, crossing species for this disease and maybe some other disease. Using One Health principle to invite people in the community and the relevant agency to come together and to find solution to solve the problem would be appropriate. To understanding the nature, ecosystem, situation, and thoughts of the people in the community is very important. Adjusting the attitudes of people in the community to have positive outlook on coexistence in life, occupation, and environment are examples of very important solution. In conclusion, our One Health is how to think and how it works, viewed as the holistic health for all. Some activities may be only in the sector in which the agency is responsible, but some activities require cross-agency cooperation and have to look at the solution to the interface as some example of the Department of Livestock Development that I already talked. Any operation should be pointed out originally from community-based and be supported by policy-based. That's all I want to say now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sid. Now we move on to Dr. Kirana from Department of National Park, Wildlife, and Plant Conservation. Dr. Kirana, please.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kirana from Department of National Park, Wildlife and Plant Conservation. Today, I will present about One Health, governance and experience of Thailand in the wildlife part. Department of National Park, Wildlife and Plant Conservation work together with Department of Disease Control and Department of Livestock Development to control avian influenza outbreak since 2004. And until now, we still have avian influenza surveillance in wild bird in every year by coordinate with Department of Livestock Development and the Faculty of Veterinary Science, Chulalongkorn University. And avian influenza outbreak at that time made a starting point for Department of National Park, Wildlife and Plant Conservation to work with the other organizations by using One Health concept. In the same period, Department of National Park, Wildlife and Plant Conservation coordinated with the King Chulalongkorn Memorial Hospital, Thai Red Cross Society, and Faculty of Forestry, Kasetsat University to surveillance for Nipah virus in bats. Until now, we still coordinate to surveillance emerging disease in bats and other wildlife, such as the coronavirus. Moreover, in 2014 to 2015, as we know that MERS coronavirus outbreak in other countries, and there's some reports that found the animal in camel group are involved with the MERS coronavirus. So we coordinate with the Department of Livestock Development, Mahidol University, and Zoological Park Organization, Thailand, to surveillance MERS coronavirus in camel animals in the zoo. And we still use One Health concept to control the disease in animal part, both wildlife and livestock, such as the lumpy skin disease in our country by coordinate with the DLD. and there are just some events that show that we use the One Health concept for our work from the NP. And finally, we always support coordinating unit for One Health from Department of Disease Control to strengthen Thailand One Health network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kirana. Both three of the panelists give you many information already. I do not want to reiterate to save the time. Okay, if you have the question, if you have some recommendation or question, please use the chat box. We will take a note on what your recommendation, your comment, or even your questions. Okay, to save the time, and we would like to proceed to the other presentations. That is will be very important one. It is a presentation by Mr. Deyer Hosang, President of the COVID-19 WHO Emergency Committee on One Health approach and public health preparedness. So we will wait for the signal from outside, okay? If it's already, yes. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Akarasevi, and thank you very much also for the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the French Embassy in Bangkok for the invitation to participate to this important meeting. If I can, if you can share the slides on the screen, because I'm not sure that I am. Just a minute. Share. Yes. Can you see the my slide on the screen?
We cannot see your slide, but the technician will be working now.
Technicians will solve the problem, I'm sure.
Yes.
Wait
a minute.
Sure they will solve the problem
okay.
better than me. Better than me.
Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Is that okay?
Wait a minute. Okay, can you see your slide now?
I can see the slides.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So for this topic, what was requested from me was to talk about the French governance of One Health. In fact, One Health clearly, and I was very interested by the previous presentations, is a very strong public health concept. Why? Because it has a very strong, I would say, basis, which is the similarities between humans and other terrestrial mammals in terms of anatomy, physiology, progress in medicine, diagnostics, and therapeutics. And also, of course, another very strong element of this concept is the common public health determinants, either infectious agents or toxic products or environmental conditions for humans and other terrestrial mammals. And the third pillar of this, of the strength of this concept, is that along the years were identified many diseases affecting both human and other terrestrial mammals, either domestic or wildlife animals, under the term of zoonosis. In France, several initial steps for the governance of One Health were taken already nearly 20 years ago, first in risk assessment by the creation of an agency for risk assessment about food safety, which is common to the French Ministries of Health and Agriculture. This agency was called AFSA in 1999 when it was created, and now it is the Agency for Food Safety, which was created in 2010. So there is an expert risk assessment body, which is in fact common to the Ministry of Health and to the Ministry of Agriculture, which is, we think, a very strong point with regard to the One Health approach in terms of human and animal health. The second pillar was the risk management. And in fact, as a Director General for Health in France for many years, I remember that since the beginning of the 2000 years, we had a weekly health security meetings gathering the General Health Directorate of the Ministry of Health and the General Directorate for Alimentation of the Ministry of Agriculture, which allowed us to address all the problems which occurred in terms of human and animal health in a combined and common manner. And in fact, we were, I would say, all around the table to try to cope with the difficulties which were met with livestock, epidemics, and so on. Also, the initial steps in the French governance of One Health were several strategic interministerial initiatives. First, the designation of the Director General for Health as interministerial delegate for the preparation to a pandemic flu that was at the time of the avian flu, you remember, 2005-2006, and also the first national plan, Health Environment, in 2004, for the reduction of the risks on human and animal health related to the environment. So again, this was a strategic approach to try to combine the approach about human and animal health related to the influence of the environment. And also I can mention, it was mentioned by Mr. Ratanakorn, which is we had also an eco-antibio plan, which was the first interministerial public health plan for the reduction of the risks related to resistance to antibiotics. More recently, and it was mentioned by the ambassador and by also some others, in France, a cross-government One Health strategy on the international scene with regard to globalization of health risks was produced in 2011. And very recently, the two initiatives which were mentioned, the creation of a high-level One Health intersectorial expert panel, to which Mr. Moran belongs, and Mr. Angot will speak about this more precisely, the French PRISOD initiative, which is a One Health concept-based, research-oriented strategy dedicated to reduction of the pandemic risks related to emerging infectious diseases. So these are, I would say, the international aspect of the French governance about the One Health concept. Nevertheless, I think it's important to keep in mind that the concept of One Health, even if it is a very strong concept, is facing several challenges. And some of these challenges were also mentioned by Mr. Ratanakorn. The first one is how to implement a good cross-government policy making. And it's not so easy because each ministry is the carrier of interests, sometimes economical interests, which may be in a confrontation with the public health interests. So cross-government policy making is certainly a challenge for One Health. Another challenge is the difficulty to gather the scientific expertise, research capacity for risk assessment if the scientific field is too, I would say, scattered. And it is certainly the case in France, unfortunately, at the moment. And also the difficulty, which was also mentioned, of the multi-level risk management, and particularly at the territorial level close to the population, how to strengthen the links between, for example, in France, the regional health agency and the departmental direction for the protection of the populations, which is in charge, for example, of the surveillance and management of disease in livestock. So there are practical difficulties in the governance of One Health, certainly also at the territorial level. And I would like also to identify another risk which I see for the concept One Health is the risk of dilution. It is true that the health of humans and terrestrial mammals are related to environmental determinants. And this can certainly be attached to the One Health concept. However, there is a risk of weakening the efficacy of the strong One Health public health concept if this concept is diluted into an increasingly and exceedingly large view of its domain of application. I heard from the previous speakers about the health of ecosystems, and it's certainly something to be considered, of course, when one wants to implement fully the concept One Health. But is it necessary to go to such an extension as the health of the environment, and in the mind of some, to the health of the planet, which I think is an excessive way to address the concept of One Health with the risk of losing its efficacy. And I would like to conclude this brief presentation by saying, with regard to the governance of One Health, there is a dilemma. It's very important to bridge the silos, and it's certainly one of the key aspects of One Health concept, but it's important also to remain focused. And I think that remaining focused means remaining focused on human health and animal health. And it's difficult to bridge all the silos and in the same time to remain focused. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. We have a very good concept from the speaker. And right now, I think the time is running out. I would like to return the floor back to the MC before we proceeding to the next session. Please, Dr. Chitty.
So thank you all guests for sharing valuable information in the first session. Before going to the second sessions, I would like all distinguished guests in this room and via online system to take photos together as a symbol of collaboration. Please on the camera for the online address. Please turn on your camera for the online address. For taking photos together as a symbol of collaboration. So I would like to express my sincere thanks to all delegates to all distinguished guests for attending the first session. And the next session is the bilateral between France and Thailand governance. However, at this time, we will take a 5-minute interval before starting the next session. Please take a 5-minute break.